So hello everybody, this is Bhante Joe here, and just here at Petticoat Creek Conservation Area in Pickering, and it's a nice kind of a Thursday afternoon, almost nobody around at all, and nice day, still September, so summer's still coming along pretty strong, and so I thought that could just do a little bit of meditation, and then maybe a short Awada for the internet. So can start with a bit of metta meditation, and we can just lean forward a bit to arch our back and look about 3 feet in front of us and close our eyes. And we can spread thoughts of goodwill, wishing may all beings be happy and at ease. May they put in place the causes necessary to be happy and at ease. And when we spread thoughts of goodwill in this way, it comes with a recognition that true happiness comes from putting the right causes into place. So we don't really wish that if beings are doing something unskillful, that they somehow get better at that or get more kind of pleasure from that. But we wish that all beings learn to put the right causes into place to be truly happy. And we wish they learn to take care of themselves with ease. And this type of meditation is said to result in what's called the Mahagatang Chittang, or the enlarged or expanded mind. And so we learn to spread thoughts of goodwill in each of the 4 directions, as well as above and below, making our mind infinite, wishing all the beings in those directions well. And so we can start with the right-hand side. May all beings to my right be happy and at ease. May they put in place the causes necessary to be happy and at ease. And we can make our minds infinite, can make them unbounded, all the way to the ends of the universe and beyond, in every dimension. May all beings to my right be happy and at ease. And we can spread thoughts of goodwill to our right-hand side and our left-hand side. May all beings to my right and my left be happy and at ease. May they put in place the causes necessary to be happy and at ease. And we can make our minds infinite, can make them unbounded, all the way to the ends of the universe and beyond, in every dimension. May all beings to my right and my left be happy and at ease. And we can spread thoughts of goodwill to our right, to our left, and in front. May all beings to my right, my left, and in front be happy and at ease. May they put in place the causes necessary to be happy and at ease. And we can make our minds infinite, can make them unbounded, all the way to the ends of the universe and beyond, in every dimension. May all beings to my right, my left, and in front be happy and at ease. And we can spread thoughts of goodwill to our right, to our left, in front, behind, in all four directions. May all beings in all four directions be happy and at ease. May they put in place the causes necessary to be happy and at ease. And we can make our minds infinite, can make them unbounded, all the way to the ends of the universe and beyond, in every dimension. May all beings in all four directions be happy and at ease. Okay, and we can spread thoughts of goodwill to our right-hand side, to our left-hand side, in front, behind, and above. May all beings in all four directions and above be happy and at ease. May they put in place the causes necessary to be happy and at ease. And we can make our minds infinite, can make them unbounded, all the way to the ends of the universe and beyond, in every dimension. May all beings in all four directions and above be happy and at ease. Okay, and we can spread thoughts of goodwill to our right, to our left, in front, behind, above, below, all around in every direction, everywhere. May all beings all around in every direction, everywhere be happy and at ease. May they put in place the causes necessary to be happy and at ease. And we can make our minds infinite, can make them unbounded, all the way to the ends of the universe and beyond, in every dimension. May all beings all around everywhere be happy and at ease. Okay, and can open our eyes and maybe do a short reflection on the Dhamma. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Buddhaṃ saranang gacchāmi, Dhammaṃ saranang gacchāmi, Saṅghāṃ saranang gacchāmi. Dutiyampi Buddhaṃ saranang gacchāmi, Dutiyampi Dhammaṃ saranang gacchāmi, Dutiyampi Saṅghāṃ saranang gacchāmi. Tatiyampi Buddhaṃ saranang gacchāmi, Tatiyampi Dhammaṃ saranang gacchāmi, Tatiyampi Saṅghāṃ saranang gacchāmi. So nice to see everybody here today, or I guess on the internet. Nobody's really here today, but thought we'd maybe try to do a 10-minute or so reflection. So yeah, it's now is the closing days of the summer. here in Canada. It officially ends on the 21st of September. But right now is kind of still going, very strong, which is, great to see. And so in Canada, kind of the happiest time of the year, one of them anyway, is kind of June. Kind of June hits, then everybody tends to go out and very happy. The winter is over, and and then the rest of the summer, most of the year, a lot of people are outside, kind of enjoying the good weather. And then, in a couple, maybe about a month or so, the leaves will start to change, which is also another pretty season, and winter will come, which also has its own kind of benefits, But the interesting thing about being in a country like this with these kind of 4 seasons is that there tends to be a kind of season for everybody, kind of some people are really into the, fall and spring. Usually it goes in these kind of pairs. And then, many people are into the summer, kind of nice weather and all these kind of things. And I haven't met many, but I'm sure there are people who are into the winter. Actually, usually people who come from, who are from countries with no winter and they moved here, at some point they like the winter, like, or sometimes they do, they like all these kind of things. And then, if you've lived in this country for a long time with a lot of winter, then, maybe you like the summer, it's kind of a, nice time, a big change. And of course there are kind of, reasons for this having to do with our physical bodies. There's some people have these, bodies that are really good in cold weather. Kind of, they emit a lot of heat, and when weather gets warm, it can get kind of overheated. It kind of feels very uncomfortable. Maybe can end up sweating, and all these other things. Just the body doesn't function well. And there's other people who, their bodies are built for maybe warmer weather. Their bodies they tend to be cool. Don't feel too hot very often. And so if they get into cold weather, then they can get very cold very easily, and their bodies might not function so well. So there's this kind of physical aspect to it. But there's also maybe a kind of a mental aspect to the love of the winter, love of the summer, or love of the fall, love of the spring. Of course, people tend to like the seasons that make their body feel, make them feel most at ease. But there is also this other case where, there's a tendency, can also be a case where, if there's already a lot of something, then what there's not a lot of seems really kind of tantalizing, kind of really great, So that was the interesting thing for me, was talking to a friend that I see on the bus sometimes, and this particular friend's from Sri Lanka, and he doesn't like hot weather. He kind of doesn't like summer. I think he likes the winter. Me having been born here, I tend to love the summertime. Kind of think about the summer a lot. And there's, there's probably a physiological aspect to these things, but possibly. But there's also kind of psychological aspect. We come from a country where it's summer all the time. Then the drawbacks of being in a place with a lot of heat all the time become obvious. Kind of most of the problems that I've been dealing with regarding the weather are probably going to be problems related to heat. Problems related to humidity and moisture, and the animals that start to exist when there's a nice constant tropical heat. And then we grow up in a country that's very cold, and our perceptions tend to be around the problems that have to do with cold, kind of being outside and shoveling, or trying to get places and it's really chilly out, or having to stay indoors a lot, and these kind of perceptions take hold. There's a lot of this, so the good parts of these seasons, they tend to fade into the background as we live them, and the bad parts become more prominent. And this is a kind of interesting psychological phenomenon, maybe, that doesn't take any effort to make happen. It's kind of, you see that with just about anything. We get a new car, and at first that new car is something really neat and very careful around all the furniture and whatever it is, the seats and everything, not to scratch it, not to dent the car at all. And after a while, that car starts to become something kind of normal. Kind of the newness of it wears off, fades away. The kind of effortlessness of seeing the good things about that car start to fade. And the things that one doesn't like about the car start to become more apparent. Oh, the windshield's too low. All these kind of things. The wipers maybe not fast enough. Whatever it is. And people see these kind of things. And this is one of the things you, interestingly enough, also see in summer. People who love summer in Canada, sometimes when the summer first starts, everybody's so excited. Oh, there's no winter, But then after a little while, what people start complaining about is the heat. It's kind of, oh, geez, it's too hot. You can't. It's boiling out here. Got to get into a place with some air conditioning, and it's too humid. And sometimes you'll hear this when it's like 1 or 2 degrees warmer than it was before. Like 1 or 2 degrees colder. And this is because the benefits of the summer become something that get taken for granted. They fade into the background, and the detriments of this thing that we get used to become more obvious without any effort. So this is actually the kind of an interesting psychological phenomenon, because it's one of the ways that what the Buddha calls tanha, or craving, works. We desire these things. We desire things that we don't have. Without any effort, the good qualities of these things that we don't have seem to leap out towards us, right? And the bad qualities of the things that we do have seem to become kind of more and more apparent without effort, And so what this tends to lead to is this kind of chasing forward, for these things that aren't present, chasing forward for, new house, new car, new job, new promotion, whatever it is. And of course, there's going to be a certain amount of reason to this. I mean, as cars get old, then they need replacing and all these kind of things. But there is also this aspect to it of craving, a kind of a psychological phenomenon, where it's just this constant, it's just this dissatisfaction that drives to get more and more things. And so the trouble with this type of dissatisfaction is that no matter what it is that we get, we end up dissatisfied with what we get. Just following a dissatisfaction like this, following a kind of this kind of what's easy to perceive, and kind of running from this thing to that. The negative qualities of something become more apparent as we get used to them, and the positive qualities in our perception diminish. The positive qualities of something we don't have become more apparent when we don't have it, and when we grab it, they seem really great for a while, then they diminish. So people can, it's possible to run from wanting summer to wanting fall, to wanting, maybe wanting some more winter stuff, and then wanting summer again, kind of over and over again, wanting these things. And so the Buddha's solution to this is not so much to always get exactly the things that we want. Of course, there is an aspect to this craving, this desiring, that's reasonable. And we don't have enough food on the table, then reasonable to go out and look for, some wholesome sources of food or nutrition. Don't have enough shelter, don't have enough medicine, don't have, there isn't adequate kind of clothing, then, these are all kind of necessities for survival. But the interesting thing is that a lot of these other things that one tends to crave, that a person can want, these things aren't actually necessary. And I think I actually heard about a study where people found that once your basic needs are covered, then having more and more money necessarily after that doesn't necessarily lead to the same kind of gains in happiness. So the Buddha's solution to this instead is that instead of looking for happiness in things per se, what we first turn our attention more towards is looking for happiness in mental qualities. We don't necessarily look for the happiness of the consumer, look for the happiness of the next Twinkie, the next car, the next, the next job promotion, the next house, whatever it is, the next one of these things. Although, of course, as mentioned, there may be times when those are necessary. But instead of basing our happiness on these things, we learn to base it on things that are more solid. So we learn to base our happiness on being moral people, kind of loving this aspect of restraining ourselves from doing things that are immoral, restraining ourselves from lying, restraining ourselves from killing, restraining ourselves from stealing, restraining ourselves from improper relationships, restraining ourselves from taking any intoxicants. And restraint in these kind of things actually cuts off a lot of, the things that our mind likes to go out and grab onto, right? So we think about it, we would like to, in a movie, if there was no killing, no lying, no stealing, no intoxicants, nothing of all these kind of sorts, it'd be like a pretty boring movie, right? But the trouble is with these kind of external stimuluses, when our mind reaches out to want one, it reaches out to grab and consume it, the happiness and pleasure that lasts from that consumption only lasts for a certain amount of time. And then to get the same fix, the external stimulus needs to get upped, right? Needs to go even higher, So, people, when they first start drinking beers, they might drink one beer and they get drunk, or 2 beers and they're drunk. And they get used to drinking beers and they need, 3 or 4, then they need like 6, And, it just keeps going like that, right? Or watching movies, each movie has to get more and more and more kind of action-packed, more intense things happening. Kind of watch a movie from the 1920s or 30s that was a blockbuster, it seems, pretty tame and pretty boring. But the trouble is that when these external stimuluses, the need to have these external stimuluses keeps growing, the trouble with it is that we can only have so much of these external things before they fall away, right? We can only have such a great car, we can only have such a great house, we can only have, such a great job promotion. And at a certain point, these things are bound to slip away from us. Maybe when we reach, even if we have a totally perfect life with, constant moving up in terms of money and success and career, there's a point where our appearance starts to decline. As we get older, there's a point where our health, our body starts to decline. And when these kind of things decline, then our ability to go out and grab these external stimuluses decline. And so long as we have our happiness based on the consumption of these things, and when we lose those things, when they fall away, sooner or later, we suffer a lot. So this is why the Buddhist solution is that even right now, even when people are young, even when they have the capacity to go out and consume these things, to restrain in appropriate ways, restrain in terms of the 5 precepts. And then turn our minds towards the development of wholesome qualities, turn our minds towards the development of giving, of generosity, of learning to give of our time, learning to give of material, can be material goods, can be time, learning to give appropriately, giving at the right time, giving without denigrating ourselves or others. So not giving our house away if we're living in it, necessarily, but giving appropriate gifts in accordance with our means, in accordance with the situation, and learning to practice meditation. All these kind of things, giving, restraining, and practicing meditation, all these things are things which are internal qualities, which we can cultivate even as our body declines, even as everything else around us declines. These kind of internal qualities don't necessarily have to slip away unless we allow them to slip away. They're things that are more solid basis. And the interesting thing about this is that these external qualities in the Buddhist teachings, they're the very things that incline our mind outwards towards the things that people desire, towards the pleasant emotions and towards the external experiences people desire. A person's mind leans towards those and inclines towards them from undertaking wholesome actions. But the tricky thing about this is that, of course, doing these wholesome actions, restraining the mind, leaning towards these external things, grabbing onto them and consuming them, then they can fall away again. So the Buddha actually has us turn our attention ultimately towards an unconditioned goal, to try to find dispassion for this whole process of going out to try to find something to eat and losing it, going out to try to find something to eat and losing it, you know, to try to find if there's some place where we could have, you know, in quotations, a kind of permanent source of food. And so this is what drives our quest as Buddhist practitioners. This is what drives us to try to find wholesome qualities, drives us to try to become better at the practice of giving, drives us to become better at the practice of concentration. It's not for that immediate hit of pleasant feeling. It's not even for the kind of longer term pleasant feelings, but it's to try to find a permanent source of happiness. So the real question becomes, with all these things, how can I use them to do this, you know? And so when we have our minds set on things in this way, when we have our minds set on trying to find this kind of goal, you know, then the rest of the elements in our life start to come into line with that, you know? So it doesn't necessarily become such a blind chase, like whenever something good happens, running out to grab it and losing it, running after the next thing, you know? It's not so much like somebody kind of wandering aimlessly, say, in like a city, you know, wandering aimlessly from one corner to the next, you know, this hearing some nice pleasant sound on this corner and running there, and then here, you know, seeing some nice sight down the street a bit and running there without any real direction to the process. It becomes more like somebody who's been given a map by a skillful guide, and whatever pleasant things, unpleasant things they encounter along the way, the purpose of when they encounter them, the thought becomes, how can these things fit in to me getting to my goal? You know, how can these things fit in to going in the direction we want to go in? And the nice thing about this is that it turns the mind from being running towards winter and running towards summer, you know, running away from winter, running away from summer, you know, loving the heat and then, you know, wanting the AC and then hating the cold and wanting the heat, you know. Instead, it turns the mind towards, you know, using the opportunity. It's a nice summer day. How can I use it to practice? You know, it's a cold winter day. Where can I find the opportunity to practice in this? And this gives us a much more solid sense of well-being than just running after these external things. It gives our life a much more solid sense of purpose. And with this solid sense of well-being and solid sense of purpose, we can find a happiness in our activities, in our practice, and trying to move forward in this direction. And we become less like a person who gets stuck running from street corner to street corner, you know, maybe feeling, you know, happy and elated one day and sad and despondent another, towards a person who, when they encounter things that make them happy, when they encounter things that make them sad, they have a bit more equanimity. It's the kind of equanimity of a person who knows that they're on a journey towards a goal, you know, who's trying to use these things for a higher purpose. And that purpose is to find this kind of permanent type of happiness, this happiness that doesn't change. Okay, so I think I'll leave that for your reflection, and hope everybody has a great summer day. If you're in Canada, if you're elsewhere, then hope you're having a great day as well. And best wishes till next time.